You could have been a quote-unquote ectomorph for a very long time, but then once you hit a certain age, all of that can change. The thing I want to talk about specifically today are a few factors that impact combination body types. Let's get started. Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service. I'm a food scientist and chemical engineer by training. And today we're going to talk about body types, specifically, can you be a combination of more than one body type? So let's get started. I wanted to thank all of you guys for your support on the body typing series. And the purpose of this series was to provide additional insight as to why your body may be responding differently than those around you. I believe that everybody is different, and because we are different, the way one person should go about their nutrition and training may need to be completely different than another person. And as a result of that, if you struggle to lose weight, it may be because you're trying to do things that are not right for you and your body type. All that being said, there are three main body types: the ectomorph, the mesomorph, and the endomorph. I've gone through these in other videos. Link below to follow up to see all of the details of those videos. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about a few specific caveats of what happens when you are in between the two body types and the circumstances under which I see that happen. So just a brief overview, the three body types: there is the ectomorph, which tends to have a higher metabolism, longer and leaner physique, tends to have a harder time gaining weight, harder time gaining muscle, loses weight easily, hard to keep that weight on. It's a tendency to be on the skinny fat side of the spectrum. Mesomorphs have an easier time gaining weight, but they also have an easier time losing weight. Mesomorphs tend to be very metabolically efficient, tend to be a little bit more on the muscular side. Again, gain muscle easily, lose muscle easily. They can gain muscle when they put their mind to it, lose it when they put their mind to it. Mesomorphs need to just be a little bit more cognizant about staying on track and staying focused and not getting too comfortable. Last, we have the endomorphs, who tend to have the slowest metabolism. They do have a great ability to gain muscle. However, they have a harder time losing weight. They tend to come off slower. They tend to pack more of their weight on the lower half of their body compared to the mesomorph, which tends to store their weight evenly. So the thing I want to talk about specifically today are a few factors that impact combination body types. Those factors are, number one, age. I'm going to talk about age because there are some specific conditions under which I see this common in younger girls. So let's just start there with the age factor. I tend to see this in teenagers the most, where they come to me wanting to either gain some muscle and whatnot, but at a certain age for women, some women are not done developing, and some women develop even into their early 20s, while most women are typically done maturing up until about, let's say, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old. Some women tend to be later bloomers and won't fully develop until their early 20s. That being said, there are some women who may think that they're an ectomorph because, they're very lean, you have a very high metabolism, you're not gaining weight, you can eat whatever you want. But then once they start creeping into their 20s and they really fully mature and things change, they can actually be a mesomorph, and even in some cases an endomorph. So there are going to be some situations where you will see you could have been a quote-unquote ectomorph for a very long time, but then once you hit a certain age, all of that can change. So I think a good celebrity example of somebody who could have been considered an ectomorph throughout their teenage years, but then once they started to hit their 20s, ended up being more of a mesomorph. Perfect example of this is Tiffani-Amber Thiessen. I'm dating myself. But I remember back in the day when she was Kelly Kapowski on Saved by the Bell, she had more of an ectomorph-like figure. Lean, long, very high metabolism, very hard time gaining weight. And then as she matured, and I know when she was on like the 90210 show and then even into adulthood, she was not able to maintain that ectomorph-like physique because her body changed, her metabolism changed, and some of that happens with age with women. I think another example of this is Katherine Heigl. I remember when during her teenage years in My Father the Hero, she was very like long and lean and skinny, but as she aged and matured and into her 20s, she's much curvier, and she's definitely more of a mesomorph than an ectomorph. So age is definitely one factor that some of my younger clients want to be more mindful of, that just because you've been able to eat and behave one way as a young lady does not mean you're always going to be able to eat that way. That's why it's so important to really be mindful of what you eat and to take good care of yourself. So that is one exception of where you can be a combination body type. And before I go on to another example of a combination body type, I just wanted to say that about 80% of the people that do email me asking me for a complimentary body type assessment, which you can do, you can email info@gagegirltraining.com, get your complimentary body type assessment. All I ask is that you guys follow me on Instagram. I will gladly do that for you guys for free. Please give me a follow on Instagram @gagegirltraining. However, for 80% of you guys, most of you are going to fall into one of the three types of body types. And if you're not sure what you are, send me your photos from the front, side, and back in a 2-piece bathing suit, and I will help you determine what that is. And not only will I help you determine what that is, I will help you determine what types of programs would be best for you, nutritionally as well as training-wise in the gym. However, only about 20% of people fall under these exceptions. And another one of these exceptions, which is a rare exception, is a combination of mesomorph and endomorph, where the person looks like an endomorph in the sense of they're very curvy, they naturally have wider hips, naturally more voluptuous style figure. However, you have the metabolism of a mesomorph. So these are like genetic freaks of nature who have just naturally extremely curvy bodies. They don't really have a hard time losing body fat, and you couldn't classify them as a mesomorph because their bone structure is more like an endomorph, but they have an easier time losing weight. So a celebrity example of someone like this is somebody like Salma Hayek, who just has very natural, gorgeous curves and has a much easier time keeping her body fat percentage low and does not go through the typical struggles of the typical endomorph, who tends to have a slower metabolism and things of that nature. I would also say somebody along the lines of like a Sofia Vergara is also more of a combination body type, where she has the natural curves of an endomorph, however is able to keep her body fat leaner like that of a mesomorph, so she doesn't have the typical struggles of that of a endomorph. And I wanted to use these two ladies as examples because I think that with the prevalence of all of the plastic surgery, and I know I used Kim Kardashian in a previous video, which I agree is a poor example, but I believe a pre-surgery Kim Kardashian would have been a great example of an endomorph. However, all of that being said, these are very rare exceptions. I'd say these women are genetic freaks of nature. They look fantastic, and they are examples of where you could look like an endomorph but have the benefit of the mesomorph metabolism. Another thing, which is the most common combination body type that I see practically, is when you look like a mesomorph, meaning you tend to store your body fat pretty evenly, however, you have the metabolic rate of an endomorph. So when you lose weight, if you're bigger, you tend to have it everywhere. But when you lose weight, instead of having a faster metabolic response the way most mesomorphs do, you tend to respond a little bit slower like that of the mesomorph. Now, this can be for very specific reasons. This could be because you have PCOS. This could be because you have an autoimmune disease. I have seen this with clients who have Hashimoto's disease, thyroid issues, hormonal issues. I also see this happening with women entering menopause on the other end of the spectrum, where you may look like a mesomorph in terms of, your hips are not significantly wider than your shoulders. You have a, muscular, nice physique. However, there are some women who will look like a mesomorph but respond like that of an endomorph. And I can pinpoint this in your photos if you tell me a little bit more about yourself. And this is the most common exception to the rule I see, where you look like a mesomorph, but you would probably do better if you followed endomorph style protocols. That means there are some mesomorphs that would benefit from higher fat, lower carb protocols. There are some mesomorphs that would benefit from different styles of training like that for the endomorph. So keep these things in mind. Now, when you submit your photos to me for your complimentary body type assessment, if you are a combination body type, I will tell you. So there are several emails that you could receive, but if you are a combination body type, I don't want you guys to think that it's just a generic email being sent to you. You will be told if you are a combination body type. It does happen, it is rare, but if you are a combination body type, I will advise whether or not you should probably go with a custom plan or which body type you should train more like. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. If you want to know more about this stuff, please comment below or shoot me an email at info@gagegirltraining.com. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.